Now we move into the next segment of our webinar, which we will look at accommodation. So I welcome Athol Hamilton to join me for a discussion on the halls of residence and the many policies and procedures that govern life on hall at the UWI Mona campus. Welcome, Athol.
Thank you so much. I hope you can hear me very well.
We can hear you very well and we can see you very well. Excellent. And thank you for agreeing to join us for this session. We're very happy to have you. All right, so to start, tell me a little bit about the halls of residence at the UWI Mona campus. Like how many halls are there and approximately what's the capacity?
Okay, so on the Mona campus, we have 11 halls of residence that are available to our students. There is one small facility at the Western Jamaica campus. I don't know if there's anyone who will be studying in Montego Bay. But by and large, we have approximately 4,600 beds available to students across the range of halls on the Mona campus. And we know halls of residence is an exciting place for students to live.
Okay, interesting, excellent. Quite a few halls, beds that we have there.
Yes.
All right, so say I'm a student and I've applied for accommodation on campus, but I've not yet heard back. What should I do?
Right, so we have a process of processing our applicants, looking at a number of criteria, and sometimes that take more time than we would like. If you have not heard from your hall, what I would suggest is that you send a quick email to us at student housing, that's STUDENT HOUSING, student housing at uwimona.edu.jm. I see it's placed in the chat, and you can pose your query there. One of the things that we try to do is to, once you give us your name, your student ID number, and the hall to which you applied, we will follow up to check on the status of your application and give you some quick feedback on that.
Excellent, excellent. Now you mentioned selection criteria. What's the selection criteria that permits students to live on hall?
Right, so the first one is distance away from the campus. And so all of our participants here today would be very high priority because they're traveling from outside of Jamaica. There are other criteria that we use. We look at our student athletes who are representing the university and therefore must be on campus for training and have access to the facilities. We look at student leadership, and we look also at the type of program that the student is going to be enrolled in. So a quick example, our students who have clinical placements that must be a part of their program would also be given high priority because they need to have access to maybe the university hospital, they have access to labs, so on and so forth. So the program also is an important criterion that we look at.
Okay, excellent. So let's say my application to live on hall is rejected. What should I do?
All right, great. So what we do, we try to place all of our students, all of our applicants, and in particular our regional and international students, because we recommend that they live on campus for a number of reasons. Now, if the student applied to a hall that is in high demand and oversubscribed, what we do at student housing is to redirect the application to another hall that has space. I must hasten to add that it may not have been the hall that you initially wanted because our halls are of different bed capacities, and so some will get filled very quickly. But the point that we are trying to make is that we want to offer our students a place on campus. And so once some halls are filled, we redirect applications to where there is space.
All right, excellent. So I know folks will want to know in terms of getting ready to move in. What is the official move-in date for regional and international students?
All right, great. So we in the halls of residence are supporting our student learning. So our dates are set based on the time that the students need to be on campus. So you have regional and international students orientation scheduled already. And so admitting students leading up to that period. In fact, what we are doing, we are providing a shuttle bus from the airport that will commence on August 19. And that carries right through until about the end of the month. I think September 1 is when we end that. So that our students will have a safe passage and there's no additional charge to that. We pick you up, we take you to the campus, and you would be taken to the hall that you are going to be residing. I would point out that if you are arriving earlier than August 19, because we know that based on flight availability, that can be a challenge, we recommend then that you would use the official JUTA taxi service that is available at the arrival section. The other thing that I would say is that all our students, we recommend that you send us ahead of time, especially your hall of residence, your arrival schedule, your flight itinerary, because that will also help us to plan and know when you are going to be arriving in hall.
All right, fantastic. All right, so you mentioned the airport pickup, but what other support is there for newly arriving regional and international students who are moving in on hall?
Okay, great. So the support begins at the airport. We have our trained student leaders and our resident advisors who will be on the bus to welcome you and to take you to your hall. And we have our orientation committees who are tasked with helping our new students to settle. So one of the challenge of orientation time on any campus is the students just navigating the physical space, knowing where to go to find your office, knowing where classes are going to be held, knowing where the bursary is, the bank. Our student leaders, our facilitators will be able to walk you through, to direct you to where you will need to access services on the campus. And there are some things that you may need off campus. So there are some things that you might not be able to travel with and you need to go to Ligani or Halfway Tree. Our facilitators will help you to understand those routes and how to get there until you are settled. So we really want to have a smooth and easy transition for all of our students arriving.
All right. Are there any specific guidelines that students need to observe before moving in?
Right. So what we are going to be doing, most students would have already received, I hope, their official offer letter, and it sets out the type of accommodation and the cost. What we also will send to the students is their hall license agreement, which we loosely call the room contract. It sets out the terms and conditions under which the housing is provided, the fees that are to be paid, so on and so forth. We also will send you our hall charter, which sets out the rules, responsibilities, and the roles of students within the hall of residence. And I ask that students in particular pay very careful attention to your room contract, because I know we'll talk a little bit about accommodation beyond year one, but that document gives all the information that you need in terms of what are the rules and regulations governing your occupancy of a room in a hall of residence.
Right. Do the halls offer like storage facilities?
Generally, no, but I want to clarify that students who are staying with us for more than one semester, so you're doing, let us say, one academic year, storage is not a problem because you would have paid for the break between semester 1 and 2 in your hall accommodation fees. so that if you are going back home, say for Christmas break, you can lock away your stuff in your room until you return. If you're staying with us for more than 1 year, that sometimes poses a challenge because you would not want to travel back home with everything that you brought or some of the things that you would have acquired while you're here. There isn't a policy that we provide storage, but what I recommend for all of our regional and international students is to, at an early point, speak with your hall manager to arrange how best your personal belongings can be safely stored until you return back to hall.
All right, excellent. All right, say for example that I live on hall in my first year. Is it guaranteed that I'll be on that hall for second or third year?
No, it's not. Accommodation is granted for 1 year in each instance. And so if you are staying beyond year 1, during the month of March is the time when students will go online to apply for housing for the next academic year. You go online, you fill out the form, and you submit that. You can also change your hall. Suppose you were living in St. Mary's Seacoast this year, which is a all-female facility, and next academic year you want to be in a co-ed facility. You have the option then of moving from one hall to the next in your second year, if you want a different experience, so on. So the accommodation is granted 1 year at a time. It's important to pay attention to that. And the time that you would reapply for the next academic year, that period begins March 1 each year. So during semester 2, you would apply during the month of March.
Okay. All right, say I've applied for a double occupancy room. Can I choose who I live with, or can I swap and change my room assignment later on?
Great question, and we've been getting some of those requests. Short answer is yes, but if you know that you are coming to, say, Taylor Hall, and you know of another person coming to Taylor Hall as well, and you would like to share a room with that one, you send the email ahead of time. Don't wait until you arrive and then say, oh, I have a friend, can I room with my friend? Once you send us the information early, while we're doing our room pairing for our double rooms, then we will take that into consideration. I must add, however, that it may not necessarily be in your best interest, because what we have found, and certainly what I have found, is we use sort of as a template to pair students in shared rooms. And so I would look at what the student is studying, I would look at the age profile, I would generally try to find similar traits from the information provided on the application form. And it has proven to be something that works in the students' interest, because they study together. They sometimes have similar class schedule, so there is less conflict in terms of, I want to sleep now, but you have an exam preparing for, so on and so forth. So it's not always the best thing to say, I want to choose with a friend simply because I knew him or her from before.
Right, indeed. So looking at the issue of cost, of course, we know that the accommodation on campus will cost some money. Where can students find information on all the costs associated with living on campus?
Okay, so our hall fees are up on the UWI page. And if you go to the UWI homepage, you would click on admission and fees, and then you will see the link, not just for tuition, but also hall fees. I also need to point out that there are halls run by the university, and there are halls that are run by our private partners, 138 Student Living. Their fees are also available on the UWI homepage.
All right, excellent. When specifically are students expected to pay for accommodation?
Okay, so students are required to pay prior to your arrival in hall. That's the rule. That's what is set out. Given the nature of our students coming from not just in Jamaica, they're coming from in the region and beyond, we have some amount of leniency. So if you would prefer, or if it is more convenient for you to arrive in Jamaica and then open your bank account and have your family send your funds to that account, then we will facilitate that. It is important, however, that you communicate same through an email to us so that we are able to anticipate that, okay, I will arrive on the 22nd and I will need a week or so to get my banking matters sorted and then pay my fees. But you can also pay your fees online using your credit card. And I just need to emphasize that the rule is that you pay your fees prior to your arrival,
Right, indeed. So what happens if a student is late in paying for their accommodation?
Right, so late payment is something that we hope that we don't have, but we know it will happen. Again, I would say to the student, if you are experiencing delays in your fee payment or challenges, you need to communicate that with your hall manager. Very important. The implication of not paying your fees on time could mean that you are denied access to certain information that you need to have to log on to online for your courses. It may even mean if your payment is so late that it becomes chronic, that you may not be able to write your exams simply because the system is so designed that if you have outstanding payments, that you may not be able to scan your ID card and get access to your exam. So that is important. Students should know, however, that you can sign up for an installment plan. If your funding is such that you do not get all the money at once, then you can sign up online. And when you arrive, that system will be put in place and you will be assisted if you need to go on the installment plan. But there's an installment plan available to our students.
Excellent. We hope that no students here have those challenges, but that information is very important. So looking at just general health and safety now, how safe are the halls of residence?
Great one. Our halls are safe, very safe for our students. We have our security personnel, 24 hours security available within our hall. But I always hasten to add that notwithstanding the fact that we have security on campus, that students and all of us have a responsibility to, one, wear your IDs at all times, to present your IDs when requested, because this is how, especially when we have new residents coming into hall, the security won't necessarily be able to identify you by your face. And so wearing your ID is an important thing. Keeping your room doors locked at all times, especially when you're leaving your floor or your block, that's important. Not to leave your room key under the mat or above the door. Those are things that we do not recommend. But generally, our halls of residence are safe spaces for our students.
All right, excellent. So what are the COVID-19 requirements for living on hall currently?
Right, so this year, students are not required to be fully vaccinated, but we strongly recommend that you get vaccinated. It's in the interest of everybody. But this year, we won't be asking for proof that you're vaccinated. We have provided hand washing and hand sanitization stations at entry points to the halls of residence. And we encourage our students to ensure that you are using them, washing your hands with soap and water. Wear masks if you are not comfortable being in close contact with persons. Feel free to wear your mask. We recommend mask wearing because we know that the pandemic the virus is still circulating in our population. And just generally be practicing good hygiene is something that we recommend. We also provide cleaning of all common spaces. So students need to know, importantly, inside your room, that is your responsibility. You're expected to keep your room clean and tidy. And for those students who will have their own bathroom in your room, that's your responsibility. If you're living in a hall where the bathroom and kitchen are communal spaces, then there are contracted staff to clean and maintain those areas. But we do ask that when students use common spaces, that you clean up after yourself, so that the general cleanliness of the space is maintained at an accepted level.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Hamilton, for joining us. That was very, very informative. All right, so now we open the floor for the Q&A segment. I'll invite Vikisha Allen to share questions from the chat.
Hi, everyone, again. I hope you have been taking in the presentations, and I must say I have quite a few questions. So let's start. The first one is, what date should I plan to arrive in Jamaica?
My advice would be prior to the start of your orientation, which begins on the 23rd. So the ideal time would be, I would say, between August 19 and the 22nd, especially because we are providing shuttle from the airport at no cost to you. Those are the ideal dates. And then you would arrive to get all of the orientation session and your registration period. And also to make sure that you are settled ahead of the start of teaching, because you don't want to arrive after teaching has started. It's just too much catching up to do, and you are not sure where to go.
And I'd also like to add to what Athol has to say, in that you have to come and get settled. You have to come and get yourself familiar with the campus. And you have to be a part of your faculty and department orientation sessions, because they will be doing academic advising. I see quite a few questions about registering and somebody attempting to register. Just to let you know that registration is open. It's not for you though. It is for the returning students. The RIS, Registry Information section, they're running a series of sessions showing you how to register, because the interface has changed. You do not select your courses until you have received academic advising. And as we said before, coming September, everything will be face-to-face. And you'd like to go to your faculty, know your faculty members, go to your orientation sessions, and go to your academic advising. So yes, it is very important that you come ahead of time, get settled, get yourself familiar with the campus, so that when these orientation sessions start, you're there, you don't miss anything. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Allen. Now, another question that we got was, if I'm traveling with my parents, will accommodation be provided for them on hall?
All right, so I could take that one. No, but our partners, 138 Student Living, would be happy to provide housing for parents. And it's great because they would be on the campus with you, irrespective of which hall you're living in. So you could reach out to 138 Student Living and book your parents, or they could book there to stay on campus during orientation. And there are also places in Kingston, it's a relatively small city, that parents could stay off campus if they wish. But I do recommend 138 Student Living, because you are on the campus and there are lots of commercial services, banking and so on that is available on the campus. So it's quite ideal.
Okay, thank you for that. I also got a very interesting question where someone wanted to know if the UWI campus facilitates off-campus living.
Yes, that was a point I did not get to go to. So we have an office called the Lodgings Office. While we don't own the facilities off campus or we're not responsible for it, if a student wishes to live off campus for whatever reason, the Lodgings Office will assist in putting you in contact with landlords close to the campus and also directing you to areas and communities that are relatively safe for you to live in, and may also look over, let us say, your lease or rent agreement to make sure that you're not being ripped off, or, you know, just to ensure that you're getting a reasonable deal off campus. So that's the Lodgings Office, and that's within the Office of Student Services and Development. So yes, we help in.
Okay, another question at all was, are there curfews on hall, and will you provide a list of things that students need to buy to take on hall with them?
Great. So I'll take the last one first. Yes, I have a list of things that I'm going to share with you, Jamani, as well. And if you email us at Student Housing, we can provide you with that. But I'm going to share that list with you. I will say very quickly, and I think our student that presented just now also made that point, that the list of things is a guide, you see, and it's intended to provide information to all students, both Jamaican students and students coming from overseas. So don't necessarily try to bring everything on that list. It's meant to be a guide, but I will share that with the International Students Office, and we can post it, we can share it with our students so they know the kinds of things that they would need on campus. And the curfew question, no, you come and go as you wish, but I hasten to add that we have visiting hours within halls of residence. So it's 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. So if you have a visitor who comes to visit you in hall, that visitor is expected to leave by 1 a.m. You are to pay careful attention, as I said, to the information in your room contract, because if you have a visitor who is not, well, whether or not the person is a student, you are responsible for the conduct of your visitor while he or she is in the hall. So with the freedom that you have to come and go as you have a mind, or as you please, there are some responsibilities that are attached to that. So we expect that you will act in a responsible way.